What's up, BookTube? It's Leah Cooper, and today I'm bringing you my reaction to the BooktubeSFF Awards shortlist. Sorry I'm a little bit of a mess because hair's wet because I just got ready for work, and I've got like 30 minutes to film this video and then go to work. So let's just jump right into it. Again, if you don't know what the BooktubeSFF Awards, it is just a community award hosted every year by a group of SFF booktubers, and the shortlist is community nominated. There's a reading period, there are read-alongs. I think there's usually giveaways. There is something called the BookTube Babbles, which is monthly, bi-monthly, every other week. There's like a babble topic to create a video. This year I think we're doing Instagram challenges. I don't know, I'm not on Bookstagram. I'll leave a link to the Goodreads group and the Twitter down below so you can check it out if you want to get involved in the group. There's also Discord. I highly suggest joining it so that you can chat with other members, community members, and the mods and stuff about the books and the shortlist and the reading, etc. This is not a true reaction video just because I've already looked at the shortlist. I've already made my list of what's going on my TBR, and I've even picked up a couple of books to that end. But let's just go through the shortlist, what I thought of it, what I'm excited for, what I'm less excited for, what I've already read, what I'm planning to read. So for the short works category, we have The Test by Sylvain Neuvel. Haven't read it. I have read Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel. I thought it was mediocre at best. I thought it was an interesting concept because he wrote it as a series of debriefings between a mysterious government agent and a bunch of scientists working on a scientific/archaeological project, and that was interesting, but fundamentally he undercut himself by really ham-fistedly manipulating the plot, and his plot would have been cliche but fine if he had been using a traditional first or third person narrative, but because he had chosen like the interview style narrative and there are no personal logs, it really just, you could just see the hand of the author playing with his little puppet pieces, and it was really amateurish in my opinion. I'm hoping with The Test, which I do plan on reading, I actually plan on reading everything for the short works category. I'm hoping with The Test that it's too short for him to shoot himself in the foot. We'll see. The next thing in the short works category is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Mohtar and Max Gladstone. I've already read this. I think it wound up in my best of 2019 video. If not, it might have been a runner-up. It was high up there. I gave it a 4 or 5 stars. I've gotten a bunch of people at work reading it and loving it as well. I really enjoyed this. I also nominated it for the short category, so I'm happy to see it there. I'm not going to be rereading it. The third and final work nominated for the short category is, of course, To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. If you've been around on this channel at all in previous BooktubeSFF Awards reading years, you'll know that I have read 2 previous Becky Chambers novels and I don't like them. I think she's vastly overrated. She cannot write a plot or conflict of any kind, internal, external, character, action, whatever. She cannot write a plot or conflict stronger than a wet paper bag, and she can't write herself out of one either. And her tone, which if you don't see it reading it, listen to one of the audiobooks, it becomes real apparent real fast. Her tone is so monotonous. Her sentence structure is so samey through the entire book, and every single character talks exactly the same. I really need Becky Chambers and Victoria Schwab to stop freaking publishing a book every single year because I'm really sick of reading them for the BooktubeSFF Awards. The only reason I picked this up, well, no. I love the short works category. Short works are kind of my jam. I'm really bummed to see this on the short works because there's like so many better things that came out last year, but because this is what I feel. Becky Chambers is popular with people who don't necessarily read a lot of sci-fi except what's popular. Becky Chambers is popular. So people who only read the like 5 things that everyone else is reading, that's my alarm for work. So people who only really read like the 5 to 6 SFF works that everyone else on BookTube reads Becky Chambers. It's frustrating. Like, I challenge everyone, read someone else this year because there's such better stuff out there. Like, I also say that as someone who, I just finished reading Mission Critical, which is a hard sci-fi short story collection that came out in 2019, and I'll guarantee you every single story in this book is better than this. Oh god. Anyway, however, I did walk into the library to pick up a couple other books I'm going to show you here, and for the BooktubeSFF Awards, and this was on the staff picks, and it was like literally available now, and I didn't have to be on a wait list for it, so I was like, I better grab it. So yeah, I'm going to read that. I don't have a whole lot of high hopes. Even my coworker who likes The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet didn't like this. Oh my god. Okay, let's move on quickly because I had a lot of hope for the shortlist category, which was my own fault. I should have remembered that came out last year and it was a novella. I kept thinking it was a novel and then I'd be safe from it in the short works category, but the other book I nominated for the short works category that didn't get nominated was Walking to Aldebaran by Adrian Tchaikovsky. It's a little horror sci-fi novella, and it's really good, and it's really creepy, and it's very twisty. You should check it out instead of that one. Anyways, moving on. To the middle grade category, which I do plan on reading everything for the middle grade category, partially because I'm genuinely interested, and partially because for work, one of my challenges this year is to read more middle grade and YA fiction because I work in the kids department at the used bookstore. So, the first thing that was nominated is Dead Voices by Catherine Arden. This is the second book, and I think it's called the Dead Spaces series. I don't know anything about this. Catherine Arden wrote The Bear and the Nightingale, the Winter Night trilogy. I love The Bear and the Nightingale. Didn't love the sequels quite so much, but I have wanted to read this middle grade series kind of abstractly, but never taken the time to like get around to it. So I picked up the first book, which is Small Spaces, so that I can read this. This is really short. This is only like 200 pages and it's middle grade, so it's pretty big font. And I can't imagine disliking this so much I wouldn't go on. So I'm going to read this and then I'll pick up Dead Voices for the awards itself. The next thing that got nominated, and I'm a little surprised to see this nominated because Yoon-Ha Lee is a voice who was big in like the BooktubeSFF Awards a couple years ago when Nine Fox Gambit first came out, but I don't feel like I actually saw that many people reading this book this past year, but that's Dragon Pearl by Yoon-Ha Lee. I don't know if this is a series or just a standalone, and I actually had already been planning on reading this myself. I love Yoon-Ha Lee, and I had it on a hold at my library before the awards got announced. So, and it just came in to the library, but it's on ebook. So I don't know what this is about. It looks like space and spirits. Like the girl on the cover looks like she's wearing a spacesuit, and there's like spaceships in the back or flying ships in the back, and like some sort of ghostly element. I'm sorry if I'm looking like off camera. It's because I'm looking at my laptop. I'm really excited about this. I hope it'll be good. The irony being that like both Dragon Pearl and Dead Spaces, both by authors who wrote trilogies where I absolutely loved the first book and was just kind of like, yeah, they're fine on like the rest of the books in the trilogy, but I still really like their writing style. So quite excited for that. And again, this is also why I'm like reading the middle grade category. And then the third nominee is something I had not heard of at all. But I attributed that to the fact that I don't watch booktubers who read a whole ton of popular middle grade. I watch booktubers who mostly read adult. But that's Sal and Gabby Break the Universe, and this is the first book in a new series. This is also Rick Riordan Presents. I feel like Dragon Pearl was a Rick Riordan Presents. I sense a theme in what gets promoted and therefore what is popularly read. But whatever. I have no idea what this is about. I'll check it out. We'll see if it's any good. See if it's fun. That's really all you want from middle grade. Oh, and there was a tie in this category. The other thing that was nominated was Tunnel Bones by Victoria Schwab. I'm not touching it. and I don't feel compelled to. I don't like Victoria Schwab. I've read a shit ton of Victoria Schwab for past BooktubeSFF Awards, and she's another one who I think is highly overrated. I think people like her so much because she crafts sentences, like on a sentence by sentence basis, better than some of the crap that's popular in like YA. And I know that's a really harsh and unpopular opinion, but I genuinely think that that's it. People are kind of lulled into thinking she's good because like on a sentence level, she's more competent than some of the people who are being published, because there is some really poorly written stuff that's really popular. Looking at you, Sarah J. Maas. Moving on. In the young adult category, this is another one. I am kind of surprised that I'm going to just go ahead and read most of the things for it. So the first thing that was nominated was Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi, which I honestly am surprised that this got nominated, because I remember people talking about this. This was really popular last year, but I thought most people didn't like it. I mean, I picked it up because it was like available now and at my library, and I just wanted to read a YA fantasy, so I just grabbed it and I was like, I don't care if it's good or bad, I'll just see if it is. And again, my goal this year is to read more young adult and middle grade fantasy for work, and I'd never read Roshani Chokshi, so I picked it up. I gave it like 4 stars, which is a rating. I'm rating it for what it is. I think it is not the best book ever. And it exists in this really weird space where it's definitely written kind of young, but at the same time, all the characters kind of act like adults. But I think that if you were a kid reading this, you'd have a lot of fun reading it, and it would be really good, and you wouldn't care about the fact that it's extremely derivative. It is super derivative of Six of Crows, like hilariously, but it's fine. It like does its own thing. It's got its own world. I like the world. I think it's quite interesting and kind of cool. And I like all the characters. Like, they all have their own personalities, and they're not obnoxious, and they have interesting interactions. There's one thing at the end I didn't really like between Severin and Layla. I'm sure you can guess what it is if you read it, but otherwise I thought it was fine. For like what it is, it's doing what it needs to do. And like, I think not every book has to be like radically original, and so the fact that it is so derivative, I also really just don't care about, because I think especially for a young reader, if that's what they want, if they want to that kind of experience again, this is a great example of it. And I do think kids, well, not even just kids, adults are the same way. This is why romance readers will read like the same kind of tropes over and over again, because they want that familiar kind of known quantity again and again, but like with slightly different remixes. So anyways, I've already read that. I talked about it too long here. The next thing that was nominated is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Robinson. Is that her name? Margaret Rogerson. I don't know what this is about. It's some fantasy YA book, and I think it's a standalone, so I'm definitely gonna pick that up. And then the other thing that was nominated was The Wicked King by Holly Black. So this is the second book in the Folk of the Air series. God, they sound so silly when you say some other titles. Anyways, I did not read the first one in this series because I've always just been kind of leery of Holly Black, and I know it's unfair, my reasoning for why I'm leery of Holly Black. It's literally just because she's written with Cassandra Clare, and I don't like Cassandra Clare. So acknowledging that that's a ridiculous reason not to at least try an author who otherwise I don't really have any problems with, I picked up The Quill Prince. I will give it a chance. Even if I hate this one, I've heard that The Wicked King is better, so I might go ahead, as long as this is a quick read that doesn't put me in a reading slump. Even if it's only like a 3-star read, I'll probably go on and read the Wicked King for the BooktubeSFF Awards. Yeah, because I have heard like some people really like this, some people didn't like this, but they love the second one, so I'll give it a chance. And again, this is another one of those series where eventually I think these books are going to come into the bookstore, and also we just get Holly Black in general, and so I'd like to know something about her writing style for like recommending it to kids and stuff. This category also had a tie. So the fourth book that was was nominated was Starsight by Brandon Sanderson. I think this is some sequel to some other Brandon Sanderson books. I have a hard will not read Brandon Sanderson policy, so I won't be reading this, and I'm not apologetic about it. Then in the debut category, we've got Gideon in the Ninth. This is some space necromancy novel, which again, I already have this on hold at my library to read, just because I figured, I'll give it a try, see if I like it, since everyone seems to be like losing their minds about it. The next thing that was nominated was A Memory Called Empire by Arcady Martine. I listened to the audiobook and I can't remember how the narrator said the author's name. This was already on my TBR. Like, I had this on a potential Space Opera September TBR. In fact, I was thinking about reading it then. Didn't get around to it. Still haven't gotten around to it, but I'm going to read it for the BooktubeSFF Awards, and I'm pretty excited about that. So hopefully it's good. It sounds really cool. I think I'm going to listen to this on audiobook too, because my library has the audiobook, and not a ton, like most of these I'm getting in physical form of one kind of or another, so I really wanted to like have a couple of audiobooks for the awards. And then the last novel nominated in the debut category is The 10,000 Doors of January, and I'm a little confused about this one because I felt like a lot of the people who, this was super hyped last year, but I felt like a lot of the people who read it didn't like it, so I was a little surprised to see it, but whatever. No idea what this is about. The cover's gorgeous, and the cover and the title in combination are just kind of intriguing. I think Kelsey from the Fancy Cat Lady Reads read this, and it was like a 5-star read for her last year. She recently posted a video talking about 5-star reads. I'm almost positive this was on that video. So that's a good sign. I'm definitely going to read it, and hopefully it's good. We'll see. Now we get to the category I'm just not going to read. So that's the fantasy novel category. The first thing nominated was Gods of Jade and Shadow, which I had just finished or was finishing when the shortlist got announced. I didn't pick it up because I thought it was going to be nominated in the BooktubeSFF Awards, though I should have realized it was going to be. I thought this was fine, flawed, but fine, and I can understand why it's been nominated. However, the second thing that was nominated in this category was The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I have read Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I read Bone Season because of BookTube several years ago, and it was not good in my opinion. It was so boring. Like, it's so boring and uncompelling, and there's some really bad, lazy world building, and a gross hint at a romantic relationship. And I know The Priory of the Orange Tree is like even longer. Bone Season's a pretty long book. It's like 450 pages. Priory of the Orange Tree is a chonker, and so no way in hell am I touching it, because I don't want to put myself in a reading slump. Oh, and I was talking to a coworker yesterday about this category, and I could not remember the third book that had been nominated. And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I'm not reading this category. So the third book that was nominated was The SHORTLIST by Erin Morgenstern. As you know, I read The Night Circus at the end of last year, and it was like one of my most disappointing books of last year. So I'm just not gonna do it. Just not interested. I'm sure the SHORTLIST is also, like probably 400 or 500 pages, and I don't have time for it. So, shockingly, I'm giving the fantasy category a complete miss this year. Usually the adult fantasy and adult SF categories are like the two where I read the most, but not this year. Speaking of the science fiction novels, let's get into those. So I'm incidentally going to read this category because it has so much crossover with debut, which is a category I want to read. So the first two things that were nominated for the science fiction categories are Gideon in the Ninth and A Memory Called Empire. I'm already going to be reading those for the debut category, so I'm going to read both of them for the science fiction category. Then the third book that was nominated was Recursion by Blake Crouch. Again, I suspect that this was nominated just because it's super popular. Wasn't this book like a finalist for the science fiction category on Goodreads Choice Awards too? Right? If it didn't just straight up win, I don't know. It was definitely nominated. It went pretty high up on there. I'm not interested in Blake Crouch. Like everything that I heard people, like all the criticisms I heard, okay, I know a lot of people liked Dark Matter, but like the people who didn't like it, when you listen to what their criticisms of it were, it's very clear that I would not like that book. Like people whose taste I tend to agree with a lot, like their criticisms of it. So I'm just not interested in reading Blake Crouch. And I don't know. I'm staring at the cover, right? And I'm just like, I could read it for the SF category. That way I know. But it's like, why would I do that to myself when I have like such better science fiction lying around? I don't know. I'll look at it. I'm gonna read everything else and maybe like we'll see where I'm at in like April. Time wise and like compulsion wise, I don't feel compelled to read it, and I kind of just don't want to waste my time on it when I have so many other things that I want to read. But it would be the one category that I'm reading that only has 3 nominees, where I'm only reading 2 out of the 3. So in the categories where it's like 4 books were nominated, I'm going to read 3 out of 4 because I refuse to read the 4th author. I feel like that's still really representative of the category. I feel a little bit less sure that 2 of 3 is representative of the category. So I don't know. If you know my tastes really well and you see the things that I like and dislike, if you can give me an objective opinion, if you think I would like recursion, feel free. That won't probably sway me, but you're free to try. I don't know. I'm just feeling very meh about it. Anyway, I gotta get ready for work. I think now that I've talked so much, I'm probably gonna have to buy a cup of coffee. Anyways, thanks for watching. This video, I'm sure, has made people mad and been full of unpopular opinions, but my first year on BookTube, I really did the whole like sheeple thing where I kind of just read what everyone was reading and read whatever was popular and didn't try to think too critically about it, and I read a lot of crap. And so it did jumpstart my like reading. Like I did read a lot, but I also have a lot of really bad memories of those books. Like I overrated stuff that now I would just be like, no, this is all two stars, and I would never touch this again. And it did shape me to understand what I as an adult reader like and appreciate about a book and am looking for in books. So that's great. But now that I've got that knowledge, I know too well what I do and do not want and what I do and do not like. And so I have to be brutally honest about it. That being said, you know, I'm still really excited for like the YA category because I thought this was perfectly fine, and I'm hoping that this will just be fun. Because here's the thing, I have heard people say this is like compulsively entertaining, even though it's not the best thing ever, which I feel like to some extent that's what YA is for. You know, it's for teens who need compulsively readable books that they can read while they're like at high school, you know, so that they can just have fun and like develop their reading and engender that love of reading. And that's totally okay. And that's what I'm hoping for from this book. And, you know, it's what I'm hoping for from like the middle grade category too. So cross our fingers. I feel like I just need to be more active this year about reading a few more novel full-length releases instead of just reading short story collections, which is like what I love to do. I love reading new release short story collections, but I feel like I need to read some more just like novels that are new releases and like try to push them out there and get people talking about them. That way we can have like more diversity in what we're reading, because man, there's so much good stuff out there beyond just what the like publisher sell sheets are selling you. See you guys in my next video. I'm off to sell books.